So now that we're familiar with our file browser here in Adobe XD, why don't we go ahead and learn how we can create new files and quickly go over the layout of the software. So as mentioned in the previous lecture, the easiest way to create a new file is by clicking new file over here. Now, if you're working with a specific device, as mentioned, you can go ahead and click on either of these options. If you just click new file, which is what we're going to do right now, XD will go ahead and open up a window for you just like this one here. Now by default it used the web 1920 pixel size for the artboards. So if I just quickly go home just to show you the other options, if I want to go ahead and work on a mobile project, then I click on this iPhone 12 Pro Max option over here, then it will go ahead and generate a new file, and the artboard here will actually be an iPhone 12 Pro Max size instead of the web size. So that's all it means, all the differences between those options in the file browser. Now I'm going to go ahead and close this file here that I have and just continue with this file that we have over here. Again, you can create this file by just clicking new file in your XD file browser. So first things first, this is the name of our file. By default, Adobe generates an untitled followed by a dash and the date and time that the file was created. In order to change this file name, you can just double click over here. We're going to just call this our first file just for the sake of the lesson. We'll go ahead and click save. And now as you can see, that's been replaced by first file, which is now the new name of our file. This little cloud icon is just indicating that we're connected to web and this project is being auto-saved into the Creative Cloud, which is where your files are stored by default. Cool. So working our way from the top, from here, we can go back to our file browser or the home. This is the prototyping mode that I briefly mentioned, where you can create prototypes and connect your artboards. From here, you can share your projects easily by creating links where either anyone can access it or only certain people. We'll explore all of that throughout the course. We're going to go back to the design tab and continue on the right side over here. Working our way through the right side, you'll see a little share icon where you can add the email address for someone that you were working on this file with, and that will invite them to the project where they can collaborate with you on it. Using device preview, we can actually go ahead and see our designs on an actual device. And when we get to the prototyping section, we'll definitely explore this, and it's super cool. Or over here, you have the option to just preview your prototype in the desktop that you have instead of opening it in an actual device. And on the very right side, we have the zoom level here. So we can go ahead and pick different zoom levels, or I can just scroll in and out using your trackpad or your scroll wheel on your mouse. Cool. Now on the very left side over here, we have a little tools panel where we can click on certain shapes and draw them in our artboard. Now, for the sake of this lesson, don't worry about following exactly what I'm doing here. I'm just showing you very briefly what XD has to offer so that when we do go over it in detail, you have some idea of what we're working with. Continuing from the tools panel, we can create ellipses, polygons or triangles, lines. We can use the pen tool to create custom shapes. We can use a text to write text in our artboard. We can use this little button to create new artboards. So if you just go on the right side over here, I can create an artboard of my liking with whatever size I want. Or if I want a specific size for a specific device size, I can use the little panel on the right over here to pick a size. And over here, we have a little zoom. So essentially, this will just allow you to zoom, kind of similar to the zoom option over here, but it just gives you this magnifying glass where you can zoom to a certain part. And we'll explore some of the zoom features later on as well in more detail. Now using these little three buttons down here, you can switch this panel that we have. You can go from the layers panel, which essentially shows all of your artboards as well as objects inside of those artboards in this little panel over here. So if I just go back to this little select icon, I can see all my shapes as I click through this artboard, or just all of my artboards in the layer panel. Now, as we work on projects, you'll see how useful this layers panel can be in order to sort and organize your project. Then from down here, we have libraries. So anytime we're reusing certain colors or character styles or components, we can go ahead and add that to our library, and we can actually even share this library or publish it so that we can use it across other teams or other projects, which is super cool. We'll explore that in a bit. And finally, we have plugin over here where you can actually discover plugins. And if I click this little plugin icon over here, we'll go ahead and open the plugins page. Plugins usually allow us to automate our design process or help us really boost our design productivity. We'll explore some plugins as we go through the course, so definitely keep an eye out for that. Let's go ahead and close this right here. And now working our way on the right side over here where we have our properties panel. This panel here will change according to what you have selected within your canvas. And if I haven't mentioned this before, this middle part right here where you do have all your artboards and your objects and your shapes and everything is referred to as the canvas in your project. This canvas is really infinite, so you can add as many objects as you'd like, and it will go ahead and just get bigger. It's kind of like a little universe for your designs, if you'd like to think about it that way. I don't know why, but that's just an analogy that I like to use. Now, if I go ahead and select an artboard by clicking its name over here, you can see that we get some options, including transform options. So I can change the width of this frame over here by just entering a new width pixel. I can change the height. I can choose the fill color of this artboard. And I can even create grids across my artboards. So that's the properties panel for when you have an artboard selected. But if you have an object selected, you'll see that that will soon change, and it will give you more options to work with more configurations of your object. Now we'll explore all of these options in detail as we go through learning how to create shapes and such. And of course, if you select the text, you get different sets of options such as your font size, and so on. Now you'll notice that there are certain things that are shared amongst most objects or text or artboards. Some of them could include effects or appearances, as well as the transform. Usually these are shared between a lot of the objects, but there are different things such as text that will only come up when you have a text selected in your canvas. And if you have nothing selected, then it will go ahead and just show pretty much nothing. Another cool thing, when you have something selected, you can go ahead and adjust its alignment within the artboard. And we'll explore this when we're learning alignment and distribution in XD. Cool. So that's just a little overview of what we're dealing with in terms of our layout here. I hope now you're a little bit familiar, but again, we're going to go through each part in detail. So don't worry if you didn't understand much so far. That will soon change as we start designing and getting ourselves familiar with XD. Now in the following section, we're going to go in depth with most of these panels that we talked about in this lecture. So I'll see you there.